Hello, I'm Morris Ruddick. We've been making an examination of Jewish business secrets. It's now time to take a look at stewardship. Stewardship is the effective management of the responsibilities and resources with which we have been entrusted. Stewardship requires the wisdom to master the responsibility. It involves diligence and excellence in bringing result. And the result is to bring increase, to creatively nurture the resource, to advance the process. We've been addressing the topic of Jewish business secrets. Effective stewardship is an expectation and commitment required of each member of the community and the businesses in the community, each according to their own talents and abilities, to do their part. It's also a commitment by the community to nurture its destiny and future by preparing each generation to assume their roles in this pathway. When stewardship is operating in community according to the books of Moses, it results in disproportionate achievement. Jews have a track record as disproportionate achievers. It is written that diligence is an invaluable possession for the one who knows how to apply it. Diligence produces excellence. Diligence involves hard work. The operational word for work in Hebrew is avodah. The meaning of this word avodah bears on the Jewish mindset toward work. Avodah shares the root word with three other Hebrew words: purpose, passion, and future. Work provides the purpose and passion, setting the stage for the future. It is vital to good stewardship. Mentorship is also an important part of stewardship and very Jewish in its practice. Moses mentored Joshua to do what he did. Joshua served Moses alone in this capacity. He didn't have several mentors. His mentor was Moses. Joshua may not have been the only one Moses mentored, but Moses was Joshua's only mentor. In the process, Joshua learned how Moses related to God, how Moses thought, and the skills he employed to lead the Israelites. In this process, Joshua accomplished many exploits, which included leading the defeat in the battle with the Amorites, as well as being one of the spies who reconnoitered the promised land. However, it was not until Moses died that the baton was fully passed to Joshua. Only then did Joshua enter the fullness of his destiny. The process involved all the factors of faithful stewardship. Roughly 2/3 of the parables of Jesus have a business context. Jesus had a lot to say about stewardship. He placed great importance on faithful stewardship. He told the story of an unfaithful steward who was slack about his responsibilities. However, when he learned that he was about to lose his position, realizing his future was in jeopardy, this unfaithful steward immediately began shrewdly recovering from his laxness. The point was that the steward knew what to do and cleverly began putting things in order. He was commended. He was commended by his master for his creative way of turning things around. A good steward prepares for every eventuality. A good steward knows how to act wisely and decisively when under pressure. Then there was another steward that Jesus spoke about, who also was lax in the way he managed his responsibilities because his boss was gone. He was absent for a time. When his boss returned unexpectedly and discerned the situation, this steward failed to do anything. He was held accountable. The management of one's responsibilities calls for faithfulness in the commitment. In still another illustration of the importance of stewardship, Jesus told about 3 stewards whose work was evaluated by their boss. One steward brought about a lot of increase. He was not only commended by his boss, but given a promotion and entrusted with more responsibility. The story speaks of the favorable response and joy of his boss due to this steward exceeding expectations. However, one of the other stewards was timid. He was afraid. He was afraid to take any risks. So he hid his boss's assets. He returned everything in full upon his boss's return. But the boss wasn't pleased because the steward had failed to bring about any increase. And as a result, this steward was deemed to be worthless. The expectation of stewardship is to make a difference, to challenge the status quo, and bring change and increase. The expectation is based on each person's abilities. Now let's talk a little bit about the dynamics of stewardship. Good stewardship, whether in business or in building the community, entails three key factors: giving or generosity, managing, and bringing increase. Each of these dimensions draws from and builds on the other. Each is vital to not only good business practices, but maintaining a fertile environment for opportunity, both for current and future generations. It is the God-focused business model of Abraham, which draws from community while spawning community builders who produce the difference seen by those in the surrounding societies. First, let's look at generosity. The spirit of generosity, or tzedakah, operating within the community, recognizes the responsibility and commitment of the members toward one another. It is a social system that fosters opportunity and cares for the needs of its own. It is written, "Do good to all men, but especially to those who are the household of faith." When tzedakah prevails in the community, it ensures the maintenance of the community is a safe place that takes care of its own. Now let's look at managing. Managing change is a necessary part of any business. It incorporates the diligence of providing a service or product with greater excellence than offered by competition. Stewardship is the mastery of this process of managing one's assets creatively so that it brings increase. And then we get to increase. It is written, "I am the Lord your God who teaches you to profit, who leads you in the way that you should go." God's expectation is for us to align our ways with His so that for our benefit and destiny, we will also perform with His nature. In this process, we are like Abraham, blessed to be a blessing. It is the means by which both families and communities are fed and strengthened for the future. Once again, this dynamic of stewardship operates both for the benefit of individuals, but also the community and future generations. Let me illustrate with the story of a Christian businessman who lived during the days of World War II. This man's name was Robert Letourneau. Mr. Letourneau owned a successful manufacturing operation. One night he had an unusual dream. In his dream, he saw a blueprint, a scale drawing of a new form of machinery. He really wondered about the meaning of the dream. But then a few days later, he had the same dream again with the exact same blueprint, with the same specifications for a type of machinery that simply didn't exist at that time. Finally, the third time he had this dream, he realized that God was showing him something, the specifications for a more advanced type of earth-moving equipment than was currently on the market. He realized his manufacturing company had the capability to start building this type of equipment. So Mr. Letourneau developed the prototype. Then he began manufacturing this equipment. And this new earth-moving equipment was an instant success in building new roads. But then when the U.S. government learned about this new technology, they came, looked it over, and began making purchases in order to build runways, airfields, for the airfields where the U.S. was at war in the Pacific. By some estimates, this equipment was able to build a runway 10 times faster than the previous equipment they had been using. Mr. Letourneau's company began experiencing dramatic growth. Being a committed believer whose spiritual gift was giving, he decided he wanted to test what would happen if he increased his giving from his current contributions of roughly 10 to 15% of his profits to 25% of his profits. He did, and his company expanded even more. After a period of time, Mr. Letourneau increased his contributions to 45% of his company's profits. Still, there was plenty of operating capital for growth, and his profits soared with the increase in the sales volume. He eventually increased the ratio of his contributions to 95% of his company's profits. The company flourished, and Mr. Letourneau lived very well and took care of his employees very well on the 5%. Mr. Letourneau became well known for the statement, "You cannot outgive God." Of course, this man had the gift of giving with the necessary faith to progressively build his generosity to that level. He likewise took tangible steps to this most unusual example of generosity. Nevertheless, he is a great model of how these three factors of stewardship blend together: giving, managing, and increase. Mr. Letourneau's generosity not only served the interest of his nation and the cause of freedom, he made possible the building and endowment of a Christian college. He supported many timely initiatives, and he helped a lot of people. It is written that without faith, it is impossible to please God. Good stewardship requires the faith to hear and obey God. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, of things not seen. Abraham pleased God because he considered that which was not as though it were. Abraham believed and acted on what God told him. I'm Morris Ruddick. We're going to be looking at stewardship and planning in more depth in our next session.